Good evening, everyone. So that is us live. We are just kind of
Live?
live. Yes, we're live. It's just as well, Eamon.
Or are we now not allowed to swear?
This is
Can I
family
still
show.
swear?
We've got someone watching Happy Days, so it looks like we're live, guys. If
Somebody's
anyone
interested.
if anyone can like or comment below this, that would be great. We are having a little bit of an issue with the software that we are using. So we're using a messenger room. So let me just send this link out to people who wanted a reminder. Hope you're all well, guys. I mean, just for me personally, the past few days have just been awesome at the show. How have they been for yourself, Mr. McCaffrey?
I'm half dead. I'll be honest with you. I am really looking forward to that bed behind me this evening because it's just going to be me and maybe a pizza. But I am wrecked. Yeah, I have tramped the floors of that hall and put in the effort. Like even this evening, I went to leave, and well, we'll go into a wee bit later. But I went back to our same lady friend and was like, actually, let me have another look at a couple of those items that I was told I was too busy to look at on Sunday, and a bit of buyer's remorse that I didn't buy more. But yeah, it's phenomenal. I haven't been over in 2 years, obviously COVID and whatnot. My plan had been to come to the spring fair in 19, and COVID was just about being talked about, but also I was flat out with my house and I was like, am I really going to see the benefit? And by the time this one rolled around, I was chomping at the bit because I was like, I want my hollybobs, I want on a plane, and I want over to the British mainland where I can make deals that you're just not going to get in a newsletter that's been sent out going, hey, we have a 10% discount today. You don't get that.
I think just for anyone who's maybe new to the group,
So
because we've
it's
had, yeah, I just think for like anyone who's maybe new to the group, just to maybe explain a little bit about what we were at. So there was quite a few new people joined the group this week. So yeah, in terms of where we've been, we're both based in Ireland. Every year there's 2 trade shows in the NEC in Birmingham. So the Spring Fair and the Autumn Fair. So we've just attended the Autumn Fair. It's still on tomorrow, guys, if anyone else wants to go down. I'm heading up to the Lake District, but I am kind of tempted to spend another day, but I'll probably get dumped if I don't go up the Lake District. So really the Autumn Fair is where it's basically a business-to-business meetup where prospective buyers meet prospective sellers. So I've just been like Eamon, just really hit it hard. Was there all day Sunday, all day Monday, and then all day today as well. If anyone's not aware of the NEC, it's basically like maybe 3 or 4 football pitches in terms of the hall, and there's lots of businesses there. You can talk to them and open up accounts. So it's just been amazing just to speak to people. Little bit of history. First time I met Eamon was 2 years ago.
That's right.
At the Autumn Fair. So we're both from Ireland.
Did you?
You
didn't get me that beer back?
No, I didn't, Eamon. I didn't. So the first thing I did whenever I met Eamon was steal one of his beers. So there you go. So yeah, that's kind of the context. So we've just really been just speaking to businesses to open up accounts and work with them on like a wholesale basis. And it's just, I don't know, like I was speaking to Sarah last night and she was like, Lloyd, giddy. It's just been great. So we also had a seller meetup last night as well, which was, we'll talk about that maybe kind of the second half of the hour, but yeah, that was really, really good as well. It's just great to actually meet people again and just it was such a just a few days have been really really exciting. And I remember a couple of years ago speaking to businesses to try and work with them, and kind of Amazon was a bit of a bad word. If you mentioned you sold online, they generally didn't want to deal with you. But just feel built by Eamonn, it was a lot easier to speak to people.
Three people.
Say again, Nick?
I spoke to three businesses the whole time I was there that were very much against online sellers, and one of them was dead against it, and yet they had a brilliant online Amazon presence. But I'd overheard him say in conversation, if somebody buys it and put it on Amazon, we can't really stop them. And I was like, right. But my approach is I will go up and I will say, listen, I have a website. Yes, I have other avenues, but they're all lip service. My main revenue stream's Amazon. Let's talk. Simply for the fact that a relationship built in a lie isn't going to last. But most of them were, dead keen to do it. They were like, okay, Amazon, not a problem. We've actually specific prices. And they're like lifting items going, this goes really well on Amazon. This goes really well on Amazon. Try that. The first trade show I went to, I went over to a guy and I was like, there's no margins in this. And he came over and he lifted a tub of pink stuff paste. And he's like, 62p. How can you not make money in this? Come on. And he was right. It's different level. It's different mindset. It's brilliant. And I do I tell it? Yeah. I ended up to one guy, lovely branded items, and I was like, hey, like your stuff. I sell on Amazon. I see you've got a presence there. Is it yourselves or do you do business to business? He's like, nope, my brand. I sell it on Amazon. It's my baby. No harm to you, but it's not for sale to retailers online. I'm like, perfectly fine. Chatted away. Find out for anybody that has never bought from, well, I'll not say the name just yet, but he is a supplier to one of my biggest toy wholesalers. And he was like, if you want, I will add you to the same price list that they're getting so you can have first dibs at their stuff. And I'm like, yes, sir, thank you very much. If I was to go onto their website, there would be no information in that. If I'd have sent them a generic email, it wouldn't do that there. I was chatting to him half an hour about shipping, chatting to him about how the trade show has changed, chatting about everything under the sun, where he started, where he moved into, where he was going. Half an hour just having the bant, and then I was like, right, what can you do for me? And he's like, actually, I'll do this. Where if that had been a generic email, it was thanks for your interest, but not at this time. And that is the difference. That is why you go and meet them in person. You were saying, Lloyd, it's all about, businesses selling to other businesses. I walked around a trade show there this evening, and there was a company, and they sell candles and incense, like perfumes for like reed diffusers. And they were sitting with a very nice bottle of Tanqueray gin, a bottle of champagne, a big tub of strawberries that had been freshly cut. And it was them and a couple of other of their competitors, like that they would know and work with, because they all do business together. Like, hey, do you do this line? No, we don't, but John over there does. And that was their time just for socializing. So come on Friday night and even come round the stall and we'll have a few drinks. And a lot of them do that. And it's really nice to see, because at the end of the day, yes, wholesalers want to sell, but they want to network too and have the crack.
Yeah.
Like the wholesaler parties are wild.
Yeah. There is a real sense of camaraderie as well. They're all, basically when you go there, guys, it's like there's sections with all types, similar types of products next to each other, and you'll have all the toys in one section. So these guys are all competing with each other, but there is like a real sense of camaraderie that they won't undercut each other too much and all that type of thing, and it's because it affects them, that kind of undercutting. So I just, it was just such a like refreshing kind of atmosphere, and it was just great. It really was just an awesome couple of days. Just fantastic.
You mean
in terms of
they don't penny under and they still make sales?
shock horror. Yeah, happens.
I wonder how that would work.
Yeah, in terms of the 3 days, so Sunday, Monday, today, Eamon, how many businesses would you say that you've spoke to that you potentially do business with?
Well, there is 5 cards alone that see them there. Nice. That's what they look like.
You
I'll show you the front one, but
the other side.
the back one. Yeah, certainly. There you go. And I wrote my little notes on it. He was determined that I wasn't selling on Amazon. So yeah, knock yourself out with that lead. I don't know. For me, I've been here several times. I was walking down the thing and I was seeing reps from companies I already deal with. And it was disappointing because my sales rep wasn't there. And I was like, I really want to see Sophie and Barry or whoever. And they weren't there. But this year, the conversations were a lot more refreshing. What I made maybe 10 or a dozen contacts of new contacts. And like I've heard people saying, oh, you need to get everybody's contact details. 100 million wouldn't get you through all their contact details. If you've one good supplier that you can build a relationship with, that's all you need. I was speaking to a seller last night who is doing about 50 grand a month wholesale with one supplier. And when they told me the name of the supplier, I was like, they're terrible. And he's like, yeah, they pretty much are, but the only one we have so far. And he's still managing to do 50 grand retail on them. And I'm like, he's like, if I had some of your suppliers, Eamon, I could be doing a heck of a lot more. And I goes, you know what? Have them. But I want you to improve the keyword in my listens. And he's like, deal. And I would have never had that conversation with that person if I hadn't been at the show. I'm sounding a bit like a sales rep for the NEC and Moda and all the ones that were organising it, but I'm buzzing about it. Maybe it's the espresso was just kicked in. But like I went there today, I looked at some Tommy Tippy dummies and the woman says, yeah, they're an end of line item. We're just trying to clear them. I have 500 left in stock. And I was like, I'll take them all. Don't know how long it's going to take them to sell them, but they're still quite fast selling on Amazon. And I know that other sellers are going to be running out of stock soon and the price will go up. I'm like, yeah, I'll take those. And it's, again, that's not stuff you're getting on Superdrug. If they're having a sale, you have to be there, you have to get in it. And it's a wee bit more Del Boyish, gonna go down that road. To be a bit of wheeling and dealing, is that really the price? Went to another wholesaler, was looking at stuff, and they were like, yeah, we can't. Minimum order. Minimum order was 33 pallets. And I was like, lads, I can't lift 33 pallets. And then they were like, well, we can supply to a wholesaler in Northern Ireland and you can piggyback off the offer. Give us a phone call. We'll make this work. And again, you get on the boots and you're trying to order 7 items and they're like, no. And then there was this guy going, you have to take 33 pallets. So it's a different level and it's fun. It's a lot more exciting than reading keepographs.
I had so much fun. It was great. Just see if there's any questions, guys. There's 10 people watching. If anyone has any questions about wholesale or kind of where to start, I've done a bit of a video series. Second one went out earlier today. And there's 8. I said I'd do 7, but I've actually done 8. So there's one every day for the next, 8 days from Monday. So guys, if you want any top tips from Eamon, from myself, in terms of how you approach people or anything like that, you've got us here for the Guts of an Hour. Let a few people put a few questions in. So hi Derek, hi Shane, didn't. Yeah, so kind of come back round to that if you'd like. Talk a little bit about the meetup that we had as well, Eamon, if you'd it was it's great.
Well, there was 2 meetups really. Well, we sort of just throughout the day collected people. We hoovered people up and we went into the VIP section of Weatherspoons. Was it actually Weatherspoons? Was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But anyway, the bar anyway, and just sort of controlled one of the corners and just socialized there, and it was nice, civilized. It was nice to put faces to names. Fred and Arthur from We Prep came down, and it was nice. We got chatting to them. You ironed out a few grievances about where's my stock. It's all nice. I got to meet some clients that are signed up to the Q4 course. Some of my one-to-one clients were there as well. And some people that literally are direct competitors that are selling the same listings as mine, and just sat and had the crack. And then last night we went out for dinner and a few drinks and a few shots, and I have a few black spots in my memory, so I'm not too sure. But it was just lovely. And yes, I talked far too much shop. But that's what I do. I live and breathe Amazon. I'm by no means the biggest seller on the platform, but I get a real buzz for it. And people are like, you talk to people at the trade show and they're like, you have to have passion for what you sell. And I'm like, no, you don't. But I have the passion for the selling. I don't care if it's a mobile phone cover or a bottle of water. The item doesn't bother me. But the actual process, I love it to bits. Though when I was at the show this time, I was specifically looking for toys and gifts items. Like I sat and looked at items today, and there were cycling related gift sets. And I like cycling, though it doesn't show at the moment. And I was like, yeah, I want to sell them because I like them. I want to be able to say that I sell that sort of stuff because it's just nice and saying you sell Thornton's chocolates. Because Thornton's chocolates is the reason I'm barely able to get my shirt on.
Just kind of another memory from just kind of along those lines. I was looking for a supplier for a certain type of product, and I went around the area of the NEC where those types of products would be. No one had any kind of presented or whatever, so kind of went to the biggest store and I was like, listen, I'm really looking for a supply for this product. Do you have them but just don't have them here, or what's the crack? And the guy couldn't have been nicer. It was like, I think it was kind of half five on this Sunday, and I was kind of thinking, oh, I'll wrap this up, but I thought, no, I'll stay for another few minutes, try and find something. And he said, oh, we don't do those, but have you heard of John Smith Limited? I was like, no. He's like, oh, really? Okay, well, they're like the biggest UK supplier of the product I was looking for. Give me 2 minutes, took out his business card and said, his name's John Smith. Here's his direct email address. Tell him that I preferred you and drop him an email and he'll do business with you. Good guy to work for. I was just like, best ever. So, yeah, it's just one to follow up on. So there's one of the top tips that I put out. It's like, how you get your wholesaler to work for you. But that guy, like, I'd never spoken to him before, and that was just kind of the environment of the 3 days that we were there. It was just people wanting to do business, improve things, and yeah, it was just great. I really am tempted to go again tomorrow, but yeah, I've got other things to do. So yeah, it was really, really good. I just really enjoyed it, and yeah, both him and I placed orders at the show. Something I didn't.
I swore I wouldn't.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way
I swore I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to go home, do my due diligence, and there this afternoon, I was just pinging ASINs to my VAs where it was like midnight with them, and they were like, yeah, man, that's good, let's go. I'm like, right, cool. And they're like, take 10 units, and I'm like, 500, please. It's, yeah.
Well, I was
hard not to
considered
get carried away on it.
Well, I literally just sat with the products and mobile phone app, SaaS, and just analyzing there and then. It was like, yeah, okay, so that works. Let's do the whole line on that. It's great. Just literally sat there with a girl, and she's like, the interesting thing was, she was great salesperson, but she was like, that won't be on Amazon, but it sells really well on eBay. And I was like, I'm still doing a little bit on eBay, but I thought, well, if it's not on Amazon, I can create a listing. I'll have all the invoices. like a multi-channel to fill it from Amazon to eBay if it's not established. So yeah, it's just awesome. It's people wanting to like help each other, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Very, very productive and profitable, like 3 days worth of it was just great. It really was just, I'm still kind of buzzing from it. It's awesome. Really good. Let's see if there's any questions or anything like that. Evening, guys. So we have D. Gono. Good evening. Oh, look who it is. Michelle Clay. Michelle, how the devil are you? So, a couple of comments from Michelle.
She should be very well slept, from my recollection of how easily she slept home last night.
A couple of questions from Michelle. So we'll talk a little bit about the meetup now. Question from Powell. Okay, we'll cover that after as well. Cool. So yeah, ourselves. Ourselves and We Prep. So Fred and Arthur, we organised just a seller meetup. Seemed like a good place to have a meetup. Obviously, we've got sellers coming to, speak to wholesalers, distributors, and things. So yeah, we started off in the VIP section, the Witherspoons, had the crack there for 3 or 4 hours, and then went into Birmingham and had food and drinks there. There was a couple of people just for whatever reason couldn't make it. So Russell and David, yeah, great to meet up with you guys. We will.
Derek.
Oh yeah. Derek. Sorry, Derek. Beg your pardon. I don't like it when people mispronounce my name, so apologies. So and Manish.
Well,
obviously.
David was there. Derek didn't.
I've just seen Michelle's Facebook page. Oh dear. Her falling off just seen her falling off dear me. Let's go into this. So yeah, Manish couldn't make it. He wasn't feeling very well, so it's just law. I was in St Albans a few weeks ago where he's based, and I didn't realise until like I left, so I could have met up with them then. So yeah, the meetup as well. I love them. I just really get so much energy from them, and yeah, they are. Well, it does take a bit to organise, but it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Well, I got there last night. I had one drink and I sat down to the bathroom, phoned Aisling, and was on the way back up. And Arjan, who has recently signed up with herself, like, hey, can we chat with you? I'm like, yeah, sure. And an hour and a half later, we were still chatting about everything landing under the sun. He's an architect. I'm just finished building a house. We're talking about that. We're talking about, our careers to date and our backgrounds and what we do, and other sort of business interests that I sort of have not related to Amazon. And I was like, right, lad, cool. But I had a panini this morning for breakfast, and I'm going to go get some food. And we got that carried away with time that the kitchen had closed. So I was starving, but because I was that wrapped up in the conversation, I didn't notice an hour and a half disappear and the kitchen closed.
Yeah, like we had a meet up in Leeds, and I didn't take any photos because I was so busy speaking to people, and I was like, Lloyd, you need to take some photos. And we didn't take a photo until the very end of the night, and some people had left. So yeah, did it again. But yeah, it literally just flew in. It's great. Yeah, some people left.
It really was. But yeah, so what was your best takeaways from the show? Apart from the Starbucks coffee you had in your hand every 5 minutes.
Well, yeah. Biggest takeaway, not to buy Eamonn Mccaffrey a coffee expecting one back in return. That hasn't seemed to got to South Armagh where you buy someone back. So yeah, So that was a takeaway. Really, I'm still kind of processing it all. It,
Do you think
I'm,
that was maybe? Do you think that was maybe sectarian retaliation for the beer that you didn't buy back for me?
I think I paid back that beer many, many times over in the last 2 years, Eamon. Look where you are now. You know, I don't owe you a penny. I sleep very soundly at night.
In fact, the mechanics bill that I have for the repair of your car on the way over to the last meetup would suggest you do owe me a penny, but we'll talk about that later. I'm seeing here that I'm seeing here that Powell has asked a very good question. I've just refreshed my page. I think he's actually removed it. Um,
Oh,
he was
yeah,
asking about the
no,
best way of actually checking the stock.
yeah,
Pardon?
yeah. This system isn't great. So there's 9 comments, but I can only see four. I can only see four of them. Yeah. So I think it was basically, how do you look at that? If you're buying wholesale, how you would look at items on
Yeah.
Amazon with a wholesale view, because if it's online arbitrage, you're maybe buying twos and threes or something, but when you're buying 200 or 300 or something, you maybe need to look at it a little bit differently. So I think
Well,
that would be
it's not.
quite well. Yeah, this. Well, go on then. What would you say to that?
Well, well, the thing, my sort of approach is there is things that I will buy OA or maybe at the start as buying them RA, and then I'm going, right, I can find a supplier for these at a much cheaper price and I know they sell well. And you're like, right, I will put in an order. If I'm selling 40 a month, I'll order maybe 80 and drip feed them in so much at a time. Obviously, that's had to modify due to the new storage limitations. Um, but when you're taking a new item, like, yes, you can get gung ho and say, I'll take a pallet of that because the sales rank's really good. And then, whereas it shows that maybe the buy box is being rotated fairly, you realize it's not and you're stuck with it. So you still do product testing. You still maybe go in and maybe buy 1 or 2 cases of an item and see how it goes. And if you need to sell it at break even and walk away on to the next item. Like your guy, Michael, I know he doesn't like being approached all that much, so I won't say a surname. I asked him at the very first trade show. I met him over there, and I was like, "Listen, how do you know if an item's going to sell on Amazon?" He goes, "You don't." He goes, "If it's a new item that you're creating a listing for, you don't know if it's going to sell. If it's similar to products you're going to sell that you're already selling, you have a fair idea that it probably will, but some will be hits and some won't." He says, "Buy a case, sell it. If it sells, buy 2 cases. Bit by bit, grow it up." And he says, "If it doesn't sell, break even on it and walk on."
I've just
Wholesale
found,
is the long game.
yeah, I mean, it is a long game and kind of the different stages, finding one, speaking to them, account open, potential lead time. So it's a much longer kind of process. I've just I've just turned my brain on and checked this on my phone. So the actual question, Powell, and apologies if I haven't pronounced your name correctly. The actual question you asked was, how do you scan
Likewise.
wholesale products on Amazon? If you get a list in XLS with no pictures, how do you know if the product on the list is the one on Amazon? And lastly, do you use software to scan or manual copy and paste?
Right.
Eamon?
Well, the first question, it's very easy. Yes, sir. Yeah. It's very easy. The first one. So you get through a big stock list, and it could be anything from 100 to 4 or 5 thousand items on a list, and it'll be, I don't
Mhm.
know, optimal baby formula, and then you've got your EAN code after. It'll tell you how many's in a case, cost price per case per unit, with and without VAT, depending on the item, and additional information you need to know. First thing you can do is you can scan the EAN code into Amazon and see what it brings up. The other thing you can do is you can search the key name. Most wholesalers, while they will have a stock list that might include the image, they will have a complimentary website whereby once you're a member, like a client, you can then log into the website. They will have their individual SKU code for each item, the way you would have for your SKU codes in Amazon. And you would type the SKU of that item into their website, and that will bring up images for it, usually quite high resolution images depending on the company. And that's how you can do it from there. From that point, you could scan the EAN code and realize, yeah, this isn't a go or can't find anything for it. And then, Mccaffrey top tip, you can go onto their website and Google search the image and see does that bring you to Eamonn on Amazon. Because I have seen times where my VA has been like, yeah, that's terrible. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I've checked it. But it's because they've only checked the EAN, and the EAN isn't linked to the item, so therefore it doesn't come up. Which is great, because if you get somebody who is lazy, they're not going to find that lesson. And if you do a wee bit more effort and due diligence, you will. Secondly, how do I do it? Do I use software? Do I manually do it? I do both. So if I get a stock list, first thing I'll do is I will run it through, I use FBA Wizard. And the only reason I still use FBA Wizard is because they aren't taking on new clients, and I'm afraid if I cancel it and move to something else that, well, I can't get back in, and it's the whole FOMO. Predominantly though, all my best leads come from manually searching. And yes, I do get VAs to manually search 4,500 lines from one supplier. They can do about 200 a day. So it takes them a while, but that's why I've got a team that do that. They divvy it up. They'll do it for maybe an hour or two, then they'll do a bit of OA and stuff because it can get quite monotonous and boring. But here's the thing, like I will get like physical lists from suppliers and catalogs, magazines, and you flick through it and you go, that. And it might be because it's a similar product to something you want sold OA. It might be something that you got once out of Wilco and couldn't get again. And you're going, that will sell. I will take that. But the data just isn't there to support it, but you know it's going to do well. Again, it takes time. You have to sort of trust with your VAs, but you have to then coach them. You have to be like, so if I have a VA that is going through a stock list, like I've told them, guys, this isn't about speed. I don't need this done tomorrow. I would rather you take 2 weeks. So I will get them to search the EAN, search the title, maybe delete words out of the title to see does it bring up anything. I will get them to then reverse search the image, and then I'll get them to type it generally into Amazon and see is it part of a bundle or a multi-pack. So most people go, oh, it's not going to do that Friday and it's terrible. And you're like, great, thank you, go away. There's a wee bit more effort, gets you very far.
Yeah, cool. I think that's pretty much answered that. So just check other questions.
Stephen. So Paul has followed up with what business split in terms of OA and wholesale.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Paul, I would actually argue that that is pretty much what my numbers would be. 70%, well, flipped. So about 70% wholesale, 30% OA. I love doing my own prep. I really do. I just don't enjoy prepping away stuff because you could have like 40 SKUs in one shipment and it bugs me. So I don't always, I try and get somebody else to do my OA prep, i.e. my 16-year-old niece. So I leave that for her, and I do all the wholesale prep at the moment because it's just so much easier. Like 1,000 units in a day for me isn't a big ask. So Stephen, when I was speaking to wholesalers at the fair, I tried not to mention Amazon and just said it's an online retailer, of which they always ask for a website. Do you guys have a website up and running, or have a semi-fake website just for them to view? Would you recommend getting a website? I have always argued you don't need a website. I've always said it's nonsense. Yes.
Yeah, I actually think I'm pretty sure I saw you, Stephen. I think I did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did see Stephen or walk past you anyway. My internet's a bit slow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. But yeah, yeah, next time, sure, come to meet up or yeah, say hello. I'm not sure if you missed it or whatever, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did see you. Um, or if not, it was a doppelganger. So yeah, my good looking one. Well, in fairness, Stephen, my weekend was made by Kate, who said I look younger in the flesh than I did on alive. So thank you, Kate. Made my weekend. Probably need to get a decent clean this camera or something. So yeah, I think with that question, Stephen, there's lots of different ways to do it. I mean, what would you? What's
my
your
approach to it
approach?
is, well, I have always sworn blind that you don't need one. You can do it without them, and that if they're going to take you on, they'll do it with or without a website. I do fully agree with that still, but recently I have seen the value of setting up a Wix website. I have spoke to somebody who is going to help me go through one, and I'm going to be setting up my own website. When I was asked over the last couple of days, did I have a website? My answer was yes, I have a website, Shopify engaged, but being fully honest, it's only lip service and it's only there as a point of contact. My main revenue platform is Amazon Marketplace. And like my point is, how if I'm going to be doing business with this company 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and they're like, actually, we checked out your websites and our products aren't even on it. What's going on? That it paints a bad image. It's you lied to us, so yeah, we don't really want to do business with you if that's the way you behave. So I'm just more upfront and straight with them. And the best one was a supplier who was like, "Yeah, definitely don't do it. He's absolutely sick of being asked." I was like, "Fair enough." Half an hour later, I had got his stock list, which he sells to Smiths, and I was like, "Thank you." And it was fantastic. But that was because Saturn had to crack, built a bit of relationship, and he was like, "Right, so you've got your own warehouse?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "So you're a wholesaler?" And I'm like, "Can be." And he's like, "Great, well, then I can sell it to you as wholesale." And again, it's all about the relationships, but it takes time to build these things up, and it's how much time and money are you going to put into going to trade shows and saying the wrong thing and messing it up and burning opportunities. Like, I don't know about you, Lloyd, but I would imagine by the time I take into consideration flights, accommodation, executive Uber taxis at 40 odd quid, um, I'm looking at somewhere maybe around 700-800 quid to have come over here for a couple of days. So
And
obviously I have a bit more travel expense than somebody that's came from 5 mile down the road, but I don't want to be wasting money for nothing. I want to make sure I'm coming over with my head screwed on and making the
yeah,
most of it.
yeah, and I mean, I bought a new shirt, a McCaffrey shirt for the event. Went down a storm.
Can I
I've hired a car.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
could I buy it off you?
Do you want me to sign it for you?
Probably wouldn't be able to fill it. I probably wouldn't fill it as well as you do. You really fill it out.
Around the shoulders.
There's hardly a crease on it. Round the shoulders, big shoulders on you.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. I mean, between flights, hotels, at least you didn't have to put your hand in your pocket for coffee the whole weekend. So yeah, save money there.
That was, and I got a very nice fish and chips out of it today.
Yeah, I know. It's always good to have someone
Yeah.
owe you a favor, isn't it? So yeah, let's just go back to the questions. So yeah, Stephen, I hope that answers your question a little bit. David, Burger, Michelle, what's the crack? Are you home safe and sound? Good to hear. Hi Stephen, how's it going? Cool. So yeah, I mean, last night was great as well. Gavin Sweeney was down. Yeah, Dan was down. There was two
Sure.
Dans. There was two Dans. There was a couple of Dans down. And they had obviously Fred and Arthur, Donal,
Yeah,
top form.
I enjoyed it.
Kelbo was in top form. Okay. And young John, who drove down, drove back, last thing at night as well. So yeah, Umar as well. It's great to meet Umar. And just like guys, just going forward, like it's not closed. Like the meetups that we organize, they won't be specifically for clients. There were some clients there, there's some partners with Fred and Arthur, but yeah, very, very friendly and yeah. It's basically open to anyone, so we will organize something soon. Potentially maybe November time. I know it's in the mouth of Q4. Well, yeah, the kind of really mind-blowing thing that made the weekend for me was I got chatting to basically a liquidator and picked out a few products that I like the look of and chatting to her. She had a name that a really good mutual friend of mine has. I was like, it's hard to pronounce. I pronounced it correctly. She's like, oh, you do have a good friend. So anyways, long story short, I was asking how the show went, and she said, well, yeah, this is kind of the second show. And I was like, okay, well, what do you mean? And the clearance and liquidator guys have their own kind of closed invite only trade show in a hotel before the Autumn Fair. They do all their business. You'll find this a lot if you get speaking to them. A lot of the big wholesalers will do the business before the show even starts. So got Chandler and she said, well, there's another one. We'll have another one before the spring fair, and I'll get you an invite. I was like, happy days. So got Chandler a little bit more, and says, is there anything else you can do me for? And she said, actually, we're organizing another clearance meetup, clearance guys, liquidator guys in November time. So give me your email, give me your phone number, I'll get you an invite to that. So potentially, well, I will be going to that. So potentially we could have another meetup November time, something like that. Eamonn, I know you're kind of honeymooning and things, and I don't know when it is, but yeah, that would be.
Well,
yeah.
I sent your voice note to my fiance, and her reply was, "She will be back by then. So what's the problem? Let's go." I'm like, "That's why I'm marrying you, girl that knows that I might cut short a honeymoon so I can get a good deal."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, perfect.
Yeah, it's funny the way you say about deals getting done before it. One of the items that I had been getting from a wholesaler, they say they can't get them anymore. They're like, oh, there is no more. I went to an old one today that I'd already signed up with them. Like, hey, can you get this one? They're like, yeah, we've 10,000 units of it on the floor at the minute with good amounts of it. And I'm like, yeah, my supplier said they can't get it, and he's like, yeah, they can't. We bought the entire stock. That line has now been moved to a different size, a pack, and we bought the entire amount. If you want any in the whole of Europe, we have it all. And I was like, great. That's by a good work from you, and that will get rid of. And the thing is, this other wholesaler is quite accessible. So I was dealing with a lot of other online sellers that were pushing it at tight margins. So if I get it now, they can't get that supply, and I am good to go. So I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah,
What would you?
like I said,
What
I'm
would you?
buzzing.
Yeah.
What about a meetup in Belfast?
Yeah, we do need to get something organized for a big smoke room. So yeah, let's get something organized soon. We do need to get something organized for Northern Ireland. Yeah, we've had a couple. I had one in Cargo and another couple in Boneyard. So basically Morrison's, Belfast. So yeah, we'll get something organized for that. Cool. So, Eamonn, like, question that I kind of had to kind of close up would be like, so if someone who's currently selling on Amazon and is considering wholesale, considering kind of thinking, well, this sounds interesting. It sounds like you can cut through a lot of bullshit. Sounds like you can actually speak to people rather than, try and put an order in Boots and, waste your time there. What would you sort of say is the logical step when it comes to implementing like a wholesale model or that type of B2B model in terms of suppliers rather than a way? What sort of stage, or what would you sort of say about that?
I would say for me it was a logical progression. There was two things pushed me into wholesale. One was the fact that by the time you bought an item and got it going well, either other sellers were messing about with the price, which I'm sure we can all relate to, or it was the case of, yeah, that went well, and you went back to Superdrug, you went back to Tesco's or whatever, and they had no stock, and it was frustrating because it just got gone well. And yeah, the reason why there was an opportunity for arbitrage there was because they were starting to clear that line out, and that's why they probably dropped the price, and the line had cleared, and you were gone. I'm like, it's frustrating. The second one was I lost 3 months trading in 2018, starting from the 9th of September and ending on the 23rd of December. 4 months. Also known as Q4. I lost an entire Q4 because I bought an item. Now, it wasn't away. I bought it off Gumtree, and it ranks up there as the second biggest mistake I made on Amazon to date. And I got suspended, and Amazon were like, authenticity issue. Ping us over an invoice, our big lad, and she will get you all squared away by lunchtime. And I was like, I don't have any invoices. I don't have any paperwork. I have nothing. And after that, I was like, right, I'm done. I want complete legitimacy, track and trace the whole way through. Where I had recently somebody say that an item was counterfeit. I went to my wholesaler, who went to the manufacturer, who got the batch code of the item and was like, here's the date that item was made in this factory. There's all the paperwork. And you ping it over to Amazon, and they're like, oh, okay, done. And it is really nice when you have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and just be able to hand a nice slip of paper to Amazon and be like, I'm doing my job properly. I take this serious.
It's interesting.
So that's why I got into.
Sorry to cut across you. It's just reminded me of something that I was listening to the other day, and it's a phrase that kind of applies there. So when a breakdown leads to a breakthrough. So you had that breakdown with like Amazon suspending you, but yeah, led to that kind of breakthrough of, well, let's do things properly. Let's and it's interesting because a lot of things like that. I mean, I think about leaving my job. I wouldn't have left it if I was happy, or I wouldn't have left it. All that type of stuff. So it's, yeah, there is kind of, I mean, for me, yeah, just the last few days have just been awesome.
You think about it, yes. When I think back at all the darkest periods of my life where, got suspended, issues at work, different stuff like that, they have all led to the best periods of my life. And you can get very philosophical about that, but that is just my sort of attitude and approach to it. But when you talk about logical progression, there are people in this, like, Lucas said a couple of times he's interested in getting into wholesale, and he just never done it because he has doesn't have interest in it. He just said doesn't give fulfillment, doesn't have the passion for it, and he's happy enough with the OA model that he's doing. But if you're sitting there and you're sitting going, right, I'm doing well at OA. Yes, you're going to have your daily struggles and tribulations, but on a whole, you're seeing growth. And you're sitting going, right, I might have a bit of money sitting in the bank that I'm not getting spent each month. Or you're sitting going, I don't like having to prep 9 of these, 4 of those, when I could just prep 50 of that, 100 of that, and that's you done. The logical progression then is wholesale. Plus, when you get your own warehouse, get to drive a forklift. And like Fred was saying to me, yeah, he's like, where did you get your license? I was like, I got my license the day they handed me the keys of the forklift. I own the shed. I own the license. I own the forklift. I don't need a license. Now, if you see the damage I've caused to my gate, I probably should get one, but it's fun. I like buying stuff by the pallet load and just see it coming in and out. Like, people say, like, Kate last night was sitting talking about how disingenuous sometimes the people are about putting up big turnover numbers on Facebook and how turnover, doesn't mean nothing. You could be doing 500 grand a month and it ain't nothing if you're not making any money. And I was like, yeah, but how cool is it when you watch pallets getting loaded onto a lorry? And she sort of looked at me a bit bewildered, and I'm like, that's what does it for me. I don't care about the big turnover numbers. I just like it when I'm loading 4 pallets at a time onto a UPS lorry, because it's like, it's real. I'm like, that is stock that I bought, I've sourced, I prepped, it's all boxed, and now it's going off in a lorry. And I still remember the first day a lorry came to lift my stock, and now it's a regular thing. And I'm still pushing to that point. I have this vision in my head of me sitting in a mezzanine office and putting my head out the door going, get back to work. That has to be in a lorry by 5 o'clock. And 6 or 7 men thinking, he really is a jumped up little individual. And it's not like me to speak to somebody like that, but I have that vision of the big floor and orders being boxed up and a lorry coming, reversing in, loading dock and out. And I don't know, it just seems more real than numbers on a screen. Like these days, I'll have a couple of grand turnover and you're like, numbers on the screen. It's not real. Well, very real if the numbers aren't right, but the actual see the physical stuff going, it's buzzing for me. So that, like, I love wholesale. And anybody sitting thinking, well, OA is going well, I'd like to try something different, get in the door of wholesale.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, I'm going to rant there.
No, it's great. I mean, I would still do a little bit, do most of it through Fred and Arthur at WePrep. I'm not going to tell the story that I was going to tell just there now because I've done a video on it, so I keep the video. But really, it's great when a wholesaler calls you and it's like, yeah, someone let us down and do you want these? Because we're stuck with them and you can turn them around in like a day. Yeah, it's just awesome. So I think that's pretty much it. Like, we will be doing more on wholesale this month. So some videos going out. If you guys like that type of stuff, we can do some more. If you like this, drop a comment. I know it's a really nice evening because I keep sweltering in here. So it's a really nice evening. So I'm sure a few people are out and about, but we've had kind of 9-10 people watching the whole hour. So thank you. If there's anyone watching the replay and wants more information, there's one working on YouTube now, and yeah, we're always kind of available for advice and that type of thing. So there's nothing else more from me, apart from a little bit of housekeeping for next week. We will do some more wholesale content next week. Yeah, we'll do that next week. Is there anything from yourself, Mr. McCaffrey, that you want to finish up on?
No. Yeah, again, thanks to everybody that came down. It was lovely to get meeting people.
Yeah, cool.
It was disappointing that there was other people couldn't come simply because, well, the party's good after all that's went on with lockdowns and COVIDs and stuff. It is nice to get seeing people again. The one thing I will say is I'm quite conscious of the fact that I said that, this evening when I did place an order for 5 grand, I'm talking about pallets and warehouses. I don't want to make it out to people that you can't do this, that, you have to have 100 grand in the bank before you can even consider it. Theo Pofidis was sitting there today. Like, I watched his presentation, and that was one of the things he was saying. There has never been a lower barrier of entry into retail. And he was talking about both physical bricks and mortar and online. He said,
yeah,
it used to be for somebody to know your name, for somebody to know who you are, you had to have 200 stops, hundreds of millions of pounds put into marketing campaigns, stock, bringing stuff in from China. And somebody asked the question going, I launched a brand and I was planning to sell it out over the next 2 trade shows, and it sold out my first day here. What to do? And he's like, reorder. He's like, you're doing it right, just go again. And you don't need to start with massive amounts. I can assure you, I did not start a wholesale with 100,000 in cash and go, right, let's have a bit of fun here. I was in a very fortunate position. I had premises, but the rest was very hardly worked for. Like, there was times when I was sitting looking at the money to put into a forklift or a shrink wrap machine, and should I buy stock? And I was like, no, I mechanized as much as I could first. But you can't do it in a lower budget. I'm going to buy, say, a lower budget. People say, well, put a figure on it. My first wholesale order was 1,800 quid, and that's because they were shipping it to Northern Ireland. We were talking to people there over the last couple of days at the trade show. Like, you go to some people, like one of them was like, minimum orders 10k, and Northern Ireland, yeah, that'll be full lorry load, 33 pallets, and you're like, right. Then you go into a place and they're like, yeah, minimum order is going to be 250 quid, and you're like, all right. So like, don't be put off by the notion that wholesale is for someone else, that it's a big boys game, and that you can't do it. Because I'm going to be really cliche here. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're correct. God, I can't myself even saying that.
It was Henry Ford said that. I think so. Anyways, so yeah. Yeah, so guys, thanks for joining, and thank you for those that came down yesterday. It was great fun, and we will organize something again. So yeah, that's it from me, and if there's nothing else from you, Eamonn, we'll bid you all a good evening.
Yep.
Okay guys, stay cool, have a good one.